So a lot of wrestling news has been coming out over the past few days. Some, substantial and not so substantial, some newsworthy, not so newsworthy. And, I wanted to come on here and talk about it. First of all, let's talk about probably what some fans are considering big news, especially if you're fans of, everything that's wrestling, and you're, an avid watcher or try to be an avid watcher of all kinds of wrestling promotions out there. And that is the news that Okada, Kishiko Okada, I can't pronounce his first name, but Okada from New Japan Pro Wrestling will not be part of the company anymore by the end of the month. January 31st will be his last match, and I think that last match is going to be against Hiroshi Tanahashi, who is the NJPW television champion and the current president of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, I don't think it will be for the TV title or anything, because if it is, they might give it to Okada just to, keep him around, at least. Because here's the thing. Not a lot of people probably know, how wrestling works differently in Japan with their promotions. And, with Okada being 1/3 of the Never Openweight six-man champions, along with his fellow Chaos members over there, it's gonna make for an interesting dynamic, And here's the other thing too. I hear a lot of folks say it's not that big of a deal. Like, they know who Okada is, and him leaving New Japan probably to explore other options elsewhere. That it's not a big deal and everything. And, they, as I've said many times before, and others have said as well, they have a right to their opinion. But when you think about it, we are now in a day and age to where when people hear about a certain wrestler, especially if that wrestler is, known for being, their equivalent of a Roman Reigns, if you will, or a Kenny Omega, who he's gone up against before, over in Japan, when people say he's that equivalent of a Roman Reigns of WWE, a Kenny Omega of AEW, a Cody Rhodes of WWE and formerly of AEW, that's big praise to heap upon somebody. And Okada is one of those stories to where when you first knew about him back during the mid to late 2000s of, TNA, he wasn't treated right there, but he was also what was known as a young lion, a rookie, in New Japan, and he was on an excursion over to TNA to get his feet wet. And true, his excursion here wasn't the best, thus causing, some kind of distrust between both him and TNA for a while until recently. When you see where he's come from that to where he is now, it's understanding why a lot of people, will heap high praise on him. Those in the business, fans that hear about, who he is and his accomplishments from hearing about what those in the business have said about him, those that have gone up against him. So people are going to hear this and they're going to want to check him out, and they're going to see exactly that what, is being said about him, the praise that's being heaped upon him, is being backed up from what they see in the ring. They enjoy that. So for them to see this guy, be presented or present himself in the way he does and be looked at, as pretty much I wouldn't say the Hulk Hogan or anything, but nowadays, on a more modern way, as I mentioned, they're Roman Reigns, kind of looked at as the Roman Reigns. To lose him, to free agency is a huge deal in the eyes of a lot of, fans, a lot of wrestling fans overall that, like I said, try to be as avid as they can, and thus watching every piece of the product, I should say, that's the word I'm looking for, every piece of the product, that they can. So it's understandable, why they would want to come out and say that this is a huge huge deal because, technically it is a huge deal. It is a very big deal in the eyes of a lot of fans. And, there's no getting around that. There's no denying that. But the question obviously is, where will he land? And a lot of and a lot of people are pretty much saying the most realistic place for him to land would be AEW. And believe it or not, I'm in that camp too. I think AEW right now is the best fit for him because, as reports have said, he knows people there. He's close friends with the Elite. He's developed a close friendship with Bryan Danielson. And he has very good trust issues. He has very good trust issues when it comes to AEW and Tony Khan. The only fear people have about him going over to AEW is, he might get pushed, for at least a few months, but then all of a sudden he'll get lost in the shuffle, and they don't want that. But the other thing they would look at as well is that if he's part of AEW, just like Will Ospreay, who's going to be officially part of AEW in February, he still can commit to New Japan. Just like Ospreay is going to still be able to commit to New Japan when needed. The same can go, for Okada. So I am in the majority camp of, I believe AEW would be a huge hit, would be probably the best place for him. But of course you also have WWE. And WWE has been known in the past for basically swooping in unsuspectedly and getting somebody, over onto their side. And Triple H obviously, sees this. Nick Khan sees this. And with them wanting to basically develop potential partnerships in Japan, not just with All Japan, but with other promotions like Noah and New Japan, then getting someone like Okada on their roster would be huge. And the matches that they could, bring out of that, potential signing, would be big for them too, especially, the Japanese market. I mean, a lot of fans obviously would like to see Okada and Nakamura get it on once again for the first time since Nakamura left New Japan himself. So there's that. So there's that possibility. There's that possibility, right there. And I'm not against, I'm not against that either, if he does go to WWE, because you have all those potential matchups fans, have been fantasizing about potentially becoming a reality. But will it become a reality? That's totally up to WWE and Triple H and Nick Khan if they want to sign him as, if they want to sign him as potentially, being that key, that last piece of the puzzle they need to establish a partnership with with Japan. Now, there's also the possibility that he could stay in Japan, and he might go work for All Japan. He might go work for Noah. We don't know. He might decide to go to Japan. He might decide to go to Noah, and establish himself there, because these are promotions. Yes, he's gone and performed for because of the partnership with New Japan, which would allow him to still work for New Japan as well. But now he would have a new, fresh slate of opponents, in Japan, working under these promotions. So we also have to look at that as well. But wherever he lands, all we can do as fans is wish him the best in whatever his decision is going to be. Now, let's talk about TNA. TNA has signed several people to contracts already. And I think basically these contracts are only going to go for about a year or two. They're going to basically be in the same vein as Trinity. I think what it's going to be is these people are going to basically be there for the duration of a year or two, and then they're going to potentially go back to WWE, maybe go to AEW. And those people, of course, are Nic Nemeth, aka Dolph Ziggler, and Ash By Elegance, aka Dana Brooke. I think they will do their best in TNA. I think Ash By Elegance will become Knockouts champion. There's no doubt they're going to push her to that. And Nic Nemeth is going to get the TNA World title, but it's going to be brief. They're basically going to go down the same path that Trinity went down. It might take a little longer, but I think that's what's going to happen. And what's going to be the result is, basically them, after it's all said and done, after they've accomplished their goal, I think, however long the duration of the contract is, which I don't think is a long-term deal. I think it's like 1 or 2 years maybe, at most, maybe 3 at most. I think they'll head back to WWE, or if not, probably try the footing, in AEW. So we'll see what occurs. We'll see what happens, but I will say that these are, despite what people may think, I think these are big gets for, TNA, especially with the rebranding. They got the Grizzled Young Vets coming in, that used to be part of Schism, and now they're not. And, I've got a feeling what's going on here is basically, there's a little bit of truth to what Steve Maclin said in his promo against, against Nick last night. I think there is truth, but not in the heelish sense. I think what Nick Nemeth and Ash By Elegance are going to do here is help build the brand. You win championships, that's true. But then I think when it's all said and done, they'll head back after, like I said, after the contracts are over. So we'll see what what's in store for them down the line. But I just feel that's the direction they're going to be going in. Contractually, with the company. Like, they're going to do what they got to do, help get the company get a lot more notoriety. They're going to win championships, kind of get kind of reestablish themselves, basically. And then they're going to head back to WWE when it's all said and done, or maybe even test the waters in AEW. But that's going to be up to them. If they decide, hey, we like it here in TNA, we're going to stay, then that's their decision. But if they decide they want to go back to WWE or test the waters in AEW after the contracts are over, then so be it. I mean, look, Deonna Purrazzo, everybody thought, once her contract was up, she'd probably go back to WWE. Some people thought that. Hey, here's a girl that can have some, great matches in the women's division, especially with the revamping of that division now. But what did she do instead? She decided to go to AEW, where right now the women's division needs a lot more building up, or rebuilding of the dike, if you will. They need more. They need more substance added back to it than what they have right now. And maybe Deonna going there, basically, in her mind, she can help establish that. But on the other hand, we don't know what her duration of her contract is. Maybe she's a year, maybe she's 2 years, and then she's going to decide, I'm going to go to WWE and test myself out there again. But like I said, that's up to them. That's up to her, and how long the duration of a contract is. But again, I definitely see that these are going to be substantial pickups. No matter how you look at Ash By Elegance or Nic Nemeth, I think they're substantial pickups. And I've got a feeling they're going to win championships. They're going to be Knockouts champion, Ash By Elegance, and Nic Nemeth is going to be the TNA World Champion. There's no doubt. But I think it's only going to be for, a short period. Maybe as long as what Trinity had. They'll drop them. And then, depending on when the contract is up, that's when they're going to decide to test the waters elsewhere. But that's just my opinion. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is potentially what's going to happen with the world title of our Monday Night Raw. Apparently, Seth Rollins has torn his MCL and, has a slight, has an MCL tear and meniscus tear as well, something like that. Because he landed awkwardly when he hit the stomp on Jinder Mahal to win the match and retain the title. And now, on Monday, he's going to address his health and his future as world champion. And that's what's concerning about a lot of folks. Now, one thing some people have pointed out, I think Fightful pointed it out, Alex pointed it out, just Alex of Alex's World here on YouTube. They all pointed out that he once wrestled, at WrestleMania in 2017 against Triple H. He once wrestled against him with a torn MCL. and then he went and got it taken care of. The question is he going to do it again? Is the MCL tear and the meniscus tear that bad to where he's going to have to probably vacate the title? We're not really sure. There is one possible solution that could happen, and that is that he takes a page out of his wife's book. You see, when Becky, when Becky first initially lost the Raw Women's Championship, or the Women's World Title as it's now known, she didn't lose it in a match, no. And it was during the pandemic, it was basically, empty arenas and then, the screens and all that. Basically, Becky told Asuka that the reason, I have your briefcase, because she had her briefcase and all that. I think she had it or something. I'm not really sure. I got to go back and look. But she said, open that briefcase up. Because she's basically elated. She told her, look, you won more than just a title shot. And Asuka opens it up and she's like, it's the world title. It's the Raw title. And then that's when Becky basically said, you go off, be a champion. I'm going to go off and be a mother. So they could do something similar to where, basically Seth Rollins comes out, maybe to the ring in a crutch or something like that. And he calls Damian Priest out alone. And he says, Damian, you don't have to cash that in or anything, because I'm going to take a page out of my wife's book and I'm going to basically exchange that briefcase, that you have, and I'm going to give you this. In other words, if he has to give up the title, I think that might be one way they do it, to where he basically, tells Damian, because you're Mr. Money in the Bank, you have, the automatic shot whenever you want, but I'm just going to tell you right now, you don't have to do that, because I've already cleared it with Adam Pearce. Here you go. This is yours now. You've cashed in, just probably not the way you were hoping. They could do that, or they could, say, or Seth could come out and say, look, I have this tear and everything, but it's not as bad as what people are reporting, and all I'm going to do is miss a couple of Raws and a couple of live events, and then that's it. Now, could they have Damian and the Judgment Day come in and cash in on him like that? Yes, they can. And that would be one way to get them some heel heat. But we'll have to see. Maybe they ban, Priest from cashing in until Seth is, at least able to compete in the ring still. Maybe they do that. Maybe they prevent, Priest from cashing in until Seth is, proper enough to compete in the ring. Hey, wait till he's all right to compete in the ring, and then maybe you can cash in. Or else, we'll take that briefcase away from you. They could do that too. But again, this is up to WWE and whatever Seth, comes out and does on Monday. If he does decide, hey, I'm going to have to forfeit this title or vacate this title, then fine. There are ways to get around that. Like if he has to vacate the title, then yeah, maybe we get a new champion crowned in the Elimination Chamber. Or maybe the Rumble is when it happens. We don't know. That would be something, but then again, this is a Raw championship, and if someone on the SmackDown side of things wins that championship, then they become a Raw star, basically. So I don't think the Rumble is when they would, make that championship, make a new world champion. I don't think that's when they would do it. I was trying to think about what I was going to say there. I don't think that's when they would do it. I think when they'll do it, basically, ladies and gentlemen, I think when they'll do it is Elimination Chamber, if they don't have any of the other scenarios I mentioned happen. Like they don't have Seth call Damian out and basically exchange, the briefcase for the title, because hey, I can't defend this, but you have that, and I know you're going to cash in, so here, I'm going to make it easy on you. This is yours now. Because I can't defend this. And you go on and prove that you are the leader of the Judgment Day. You become a fighting champion and prove that the Judgment Day is the faction in WWE. They could have that happen. They could have Seth maybe lay down and say, look, I know this is something I don't want to do, but I can't wrestle, so cash in, pin me, you're the champ now. That might be something they do too. Again, maybe he doesn't do it, and maybe he says he's just got to take a little bit of time off, and then they have the cash in happen. Who knows? Who knows how it's gonna go down on Monday? But yeah, right now, there's a lot of different ways they can go with this. Like I said, one of the best solutions they can go with, if he can't defend the title, if he can't compete even at Mania, then I think the best solution, in my opinion, to really play up the fact that you're going to try to turn Damian babyface, is to have basically Seth, either lie down for him to pin him, or basically exchange the briefcase for the title, with Adam Pearce in the ring and Triple H in the ring, and go from there. Maybe that's what happens. We don't know. We don't really know. But it's gonna be interesting to see where they go with this on Monday. Again, if Seth isn't that badly injured with the MCL and the meniscus, then maybe he just takes time off. Maybe Adam Pearce and Triple H tell Damian, and they tell Judgment Day, hey, don't cash in on him, right now. Wait till he's at least, cleared to get in the ring, even if it's at less than, 80% or something like that. Maybe they do that, and Damian has to wait. He has to wait a little longer. Like maybe this is where the dissension comes in. Like Damian wants to cash in. Like, Damian, he might have a code of honor. Maybe he's like, look, I get what you guys are saying. Maybe he tells his Judgment Day team, hey, look, I get what you're saying. I have an opportunity to cash in now, but, I want to prove myself. I want to prove myself, the more I think about it, against Seth in the actual match, even if he's at less than 75%. So that could be something we see happen too, but like I said, it's totally up to WWE and where they want to go with this, and as far as what, the diagnosis is, I should say, not diagnosis, but diagnosis, is as far as his injury goes and how bad it is. Again, if it's not that bad and he's able to at least make appearances, and everything, I think that'll be, that'll be a victory, a very bittersweet victory, but it'll be a victory to at least know that, hey, he doesn't have to vacate the title. But there's many different scenarios they can go with, many different scenarios. But, that's all I'm going to say about that. And, let's just hope whatever the news is on Monday, if he has to make that exchange happen with Pearce and Triple H in the ring, then, so be it. And there you go. Damian's the new champion, even if it's not the way they were planning for it to happen. If he has to lay down and have Damian pin him, 1, 2, 3, fine. If he says, I'm not going to vacate this title because I'm going to be okay, hopefully, or at least, I'll be passable at least to get to Mania. Maybe that's when we have Damian come in and do the cash in. Who knows? And that way we set up a rematch to where Rollins gets the title back. Maybe that's what happens, even at less than 100%. Maybe that happens. Again, I don't know. There's a lot of different ways they can go with this, and it's going to be totally up to them. But what do you guys think of the situation? Let me know down below and in the live chat. But that's all I'm going to say for this, for this video and my take on some of the wrestling news that's come out of WWE and AEW and TNA and NJPW. Not necessarily, well, yeah, AEW to an extent, but mostly TNA, WWE, and NJPW. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Where do you think Okada will land? Do you think he'll be All Elite, which a lot of people, including myself, feel is probably the best, probably going to be the destination for him and probably the better destination for him? Or do you think he'll probably try his hand in WWE because of, hey, new opponents, new place, get my feet wet kind of deal? Or do you think he'll stay in Japan and maybe sign and work for All Japan and or Noah? Do you think he might stay in Japan and, work for All Japan or Noah and still have somewhat of a working relationship with New Japan where he could go back and forth just like he would with AEW. What are your thoughts on that? How long do you think Nic Nemeth and Ash By Elegance's TNA contracts are for? Do you think they will head back to WWE once those contracts are expired, or do you think that maybe they'll test the waters in AEW? Let me know your thoughts on that. And also, let me know what your thoughts are on the whole Seth Rollins situation. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? With that scenario, and how do you think WWE is going to be able to work around it? Do you think he'll be okay to at least be champion? Do you think even if he's okay to continue, he'll get cashed in on, and then we get a rematch, he gets the title back? Do you think he'll exchange the title for the briefcase? With Damian, with Triple H and Pierce in the ring to make that official and make that happen? Do you think he'll lie down for Priest? So Priest becomes champion. What do you think the scenario is? How do you think the scenario is going to play out? Let me know down below in the comments or on the live chat during the premiere, guys. And until then, I'm out.